You are now listening to the Fighting Back Podcast, and here's your host, Jessica Travis.
Hello and welcome to the Fighting Back Podcast. This is Jessica Travis, and today is episode 10. It's okay not to be okay. With me, I have my host, Lisseth Russa. She is Vice President of Operations for Mental Health Association of Central Florida. She has a master's in counseling and psychology from Troy University and a certificate of public and nonprofit management from UCF. She has spent over 20 years managing and developing new programs to serve the disadvantaged, vulnerable, and individuals with disabilities, and for the past 10 years has worked in the mental health field. So thank you so much for being here and being on the podcast with me.
Thank you, Jessica, for having me. It's a pleasure.
So the first thing I want to talk about is tell us a little bit about the Mental Health Association of Central Florida. What does the organization do? How does it work?
Absolutely. So the Mental Health Association of Central Florida has been around for over 76 years. We provide free counseling and psychiatric services for the uninsured and underinsured. We also have a connections program where we connect the community with different resources, primarily mental health, but we also do anything as far as food assistance, legal assistance, financial assistance. We do the legwork for them. We get the information for them and we connect them to those resources for the services that they're looking for.
And as far as the people that you serve, do you serve just adults, just children, both?
Both. Anybody from 6 years young and up.
Okay, fantastic. And now I know when we spoke earlier, we talked about some specific programs that you guys do. One of them specifically is the Connections program. Can you tell me a little bit about that? That was really interesting.
Yeah, so the Connections program is a program where we connect the community to the different resources. The individual will contact us. They would tell us that they are looking for a specific service, sometimes primarily mental health, but they're also looking for, like I said, financial assistance or legal assistance. We do a personalized search in our database, over 4,000 providers, to link those services to the individual. We then contact the providers to make sure that it's a good fit for the individual before providing the individual with that list of resources. So to ensure that they're actually going to a service that is going to be provided to them. And then we do a follow-up 2 weeks later to make sure that they actually receive that service. If not, we start the search all over again. So we do the legwork for the individuals so that they don't have to navigate the system themselves.
That's really cool because a lot of times I know when people are looking to get services, they don't know what kind of services they need, they don't know where they need to go for them, and it becomes very overwhelming.
Exactly. As you know, individuals with mental health disabilities, mental health disorders, they already have a lot going on. They already have a lot of things that going on in their hands. It's challenging for them already as it is to try to navigate insurances and different providers. And sometimes, if you go into your insurance provider, the provider that is there no longer takes that insurance.
Right.
So imagine having to go through all those closed doors. They're going to lose hope. So we do that work for them.
So is everything that you do referring out and connecting people to resources, or do you have any type of in-house work that you do?
So we do in-house services as well. When we identify that the individual is looking for counseling or psychiatric services and has no insurance, or their insurance does not cover the cost of their psychological evaluations or therapy, then we connect them to our Outlook clinic. In our Outlook clinic, we provide counseling and psychiatric services for free to the uninsured.
Free?
Yes, wow. Completely free. So they don't have to pay a penny for as long as they need it medically, of course.
And do you have financial qualifications? So do people have to meet certain poverty thresholds or things like that in order to qualify for the free services?
No, there is no qualifications for that. They don't have insurance. They're going to be receiving the services from us.
Wow, that's amazing. That's
Yes.
really cool. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the stigma surrounding mental health and mental health services.
Yes.
I really liked the idea of the podcast title today being "It's okay not to be okay," because I think that statement is powerful for people. I know we grew up sometimes in an environment where it's like, it's okay, brush it off, like get up, walk it off. don't take it outside of the family or don't take it outside of you. Like, just deal with it on your own and you'll be okay. But obviously that's not a good mentality to have. And I think having that idea of it's okay not to be okay really will help with that stigma.
Yes, it's important to understand that, as we had discussed earlier, there's a difference between mental illness and mental crisis, right? And when you have a mental...
What is that difference?
The difference is mental illness is something that you're going to be having with you all the time. It's a diagnosable illness that stays with you. You get treatment, but it's always going to be there. A mental health crisis, it's situational. So something happened in your life that made you go through that crisis, a mental breakdown, what we call it.
Okay.
You went through a separation, you moved to a different country, you changed jobs after 15, 20 years. I mean, any situation that could be very significant to you could cause you a mental health crisis, but that's temporarily. Right? And that's treatable. You talk to somebody and you start getting the copes and mechanisms that you need to be able to deal with this situation. Mental health illness, on the other hand, is diagnosable. So somebody comes to you, evaluate you, and diagnose what you have. What's the mental health illness that you currently experiencing? It could be bipolar disease, schizophrenia, major depression. You get medication, you get treatment and ongoing therapy for that, but it's always going to be with you. So that's the difference between the two. So the mental health stigma that we have in the community, and a lot of the communities, specifically minorities like Hispanics, and I'm Hispanic, for example, and I could relate to that. What you were saying is, brush it off and keep going and go out of the house. And these things are only shared in the house. And we don't talk to strangers about the problems. And if you go to the counselor, if you go to therapy, you're crazy, right? And that's the stigma that we have in the community that we are trying to break. Because it is okay not to be okay. And you can go to someone that is outside of your family, outside of your friends, to talk to help you cope with whatever it is that you're experiencing in the moment.
And it sounds kind of like what you're describing is more of like a mental health preventative care, like the annual wellness visits that we go to with the doctor to just kind of be like, check on it and make sure things are doing okay. It kind of sounds like that's similar to what you're talking about.
Yes, I'm happy that you brought that up because our method or model is before stage 4. Which means we are trying to look for services and connect the individuals in the community to services before it gets to that point, before it gets to that crisis. It's okay for you to seek that assistance once you realize or identify that something's off or you're not feeling yourself anymore, for you to go and seek for that help. Because that's what we do when we have a headache or we feel funny, physically, we're going to go and make a doctor's appointment and get our physicals done and to see what's going on. Same thing with the mental health. Your mental health is as important as your physical health. And sometimes your physical health is a production of your mental health. So that our motto is before stage 4 for that reason.
So is it something that people should really look at and be like, when is the point to say, I'm not okay? I think it's time to seek treatment, to seek help. Obviously, we know when we're dealing with a crisis and it's a Baker Act or a Marchman Act situation, yes, it's time. But how can people know before then that, you know what, I'm not okay and I should see somebody?
Well, nobody else than yourself know your body, right? And when you start feeling too tired or sleep more than usual or lack of sleep, or eat more than usual, or hardly eat. When these situations appear in your life, then you start asking yourself what's going on. You start getting stressed out easily or irritated easily, or you started getting angry outbursts. That's when you have to stop and say, something's up and I need to seek help. And nobody else could know that but you, by knowing your body. So listen to your body, listen to your reaction to your emotions, and just know that if something is off, it's okay to go and talk to somebody.
And I know we were talking earlier about how life transitions can cause somebody to not be okay and to need to kind of take that preventative and proactive approach.
Yes.
Talk to me about the different life transitions that you've seen that can cause people to really need that mental health.
Yes, and I will speak to you with an experience that is close to my heart. Being an immigrant in this country, coming here when I was 9 years old. As a 9-year-old without speaking the language, if you actually have the help to talk to somebody, then you will be able to adjust or be able to cope with those adjustment issues. I started seeing a lot of kids in school that because of the lack of the language, moving to a new country, trying to acclimate to a new culture, were going through a lot of behavioral issues. That's an adjustment disorder right there that we could tackle just for that situation of moving from one country to another. It's a lot on a child, if you would imagine, coming to a different country, having to learn a different language, and having to adapt to an entire different process in an area that they don't know. And then the parents are more involved and preoccupied with finding a job, with making ends meet, and the child stays in school like, okay, what about me? Right? And that's when you need to seek that assistance. If I would have had the assistance, it would have been ideal. So that will be a life transition that where you would say, seek help. Talk to somebody. Find somebody for your child. Going through a divorce. Losing somebody in your life. Even being an empty nester. I am recently an empty nester myself.
Okay.
And that's a change for a woman. That's a change for a couple. And being in that situation, it's necessary for you to seek somebody to talk to try now to adjust to the new you and the new family that, that child is no longer there. So there's a lot of different circumstances in our lives and things that happen where we are always going to be needing that assistance.
And I know we talk a lot about resilience and how some people have different levels of resilience than other people do. Can you talk to me a little bit about what resilience is and how that affects individuals' mental health?
Absolutely. Being from a different generation myself, I'll tell you that we have different levels of resiliency. My level of resiliency is super high as opposed to somebody today in age, for example, because we have gone through so many different events in life, in the world, COVID, you name it. So all those things do affect our well-being and how we react to certain situations. But your resilience, for example, might be completely different than mine. We may encounter or undergo the same trauma at the same time during the same type of stage in our lives, and we both will react completely different. So it's understanding that doesn't matter what the trauma is, what the situation is, how you react to it is unique to you. And that's why it's important for you to identify how are you feeling after a circumstance like that and seek the help that you need.
So what if someone is saying, okay, I'm not okay, I need to start getting some of that mental health treatment. Going to a mental health facility or even attempting that can be scary. It can be intimidating for people who have not sought any type of mental health treatment before. Can you tell me a little bit about the process? Like, do you have to go in person? What are these facilities like? Are they like the One Flew Over Cuckoo's Nest and those type of movies that we've seen? Talk a little bit about that. Absolutely
not. We're a very laid-back atmosphere at our office. You don't even have to come in. Just give us a call or go online. We have an online referral form. You can answer all the questions on there. We'll reach out to you. We'll ask you the questions that we need. Our clinic is very friendly. It's a very safe space. You'll see it's very open. It has nothing to do with a clinic atmosphere per se. It's like an office, so it's very, and if you don't want to come into the office, that's perfectly fine. We do virtual, and you could be in the comfort of your own home and still have the sessions from there.
And the sessions, again, I mean, looking at movies and seeing that, I see people, getting shock therapy and getting lobotomies and, aversion therapy and all of these things. Can you talk to me about, really what therapy is and how it actually works?
Yeah, so everybody will have different type of therapy that they will need in their life depending on what they're encountering at that moment. But the most common one is just talk therapy. So it's what you and I are doing right now. It's just sitting in front of each other, talking about what's going on, trying to process my feelings, process the things that I'm going through. And as a counselor, I'm not going to tell you what to do or tell you that this is the right choice or that's the right choice. I'm going to help you find those tools and those coping mechanisms for you to make your own decisions to what is best for you based on the situation that you're dealing with. So it's just having a conversation with an individual in an office or through a computer, has nothing to do with shock therapy or any of that at all whatsoever. It's a very comfortable situation.
So I guess the next question that kind of leads to that is, why talk to a stranger? If we're just talking, what's the benefit of talking to a stranger about my situation as opposed to talking to the wall or talking to myself in the mirror?
Well, they're not going to guide you. Well, maybe yourself could guide you into, to finding those tools. But it's a difference because this is an individual that is outside of your norm, outside of your day-to-day living. It's not a mom, it's not a friend, it's not a sister. It's somebody that is going to objectively look at the situation and help you find the tools to get to the decision that you need, as opposed to somebody that may be involved in your life and try to find ways that are going to be just for the best of you, but not really the right decision. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
Well, if somebody's listening to this podcast and they're thinking, you know what? Okay, I'm not okay. How can somebody find the Mental Health Association of Central Florida? How can somebody get these resources and this information that they need to take the next steps?
Yeah, so you could actually go to our website, www.mhacf.org, or you could contact us by phone, 407-898-0110. We'll answer the call, we'll get all the information you need, and we'll get you to the right services.
Well, thank you so much for coming in and talking with me about this. It's really interesting talking about mental health and talking about the stigma that surrounds it. So I really appreciate you coming in and just educating us and giving us some more information about it. So thank you.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to do that. Appreciate it.
That's all we have for today.
Thank you so much for listening. If you found this episode helpful or informative, don't forget to follow us on social media and share this podcast with your friends. Like, follow, subscribe so you never miss a show, and help others know their rights by spreading the word. Your support helps us keep fighting back. The information provided in the Fighting Back podcast is for general informational purposes only and is not intended as legal advice. Every case is unique and should be reviewed by a qualified attorney who can provide guidance based on the specific facts and circumstances of your case. Listening to this podcast does not create an attorney-client relationship with Fighter Law or any of its attorneys. If you are facing any legal issue, we strongly encourage you to consult with a licensed attorney directly.